Welcome to the explainer. So your company is probably pouring millions into Gen AI, right? But what if I told you there's a huge hidden bottleneck that could derail that entire investment? It's your leadership development. Today, we're going to break down why that old classroom model is totally broken and, more importantly, what you need to do to fix it. All right, here's our game plan. First, we'll dig into the big paradox that's killing most training programs. Then we'll look at a completely new way to think about development for the AI era. We'll also talk about the massive cost of getting this wrong, especially for firms in India. And then we'll get practical with a playbook and wrap it all up with a clear call to action. So let's start with something I bet you've all felt. You spend a ton of time and money on a leadership training program, everyone seems really engaged, but then they get back to their desks and, well, nothing really changes. Sound familiar?
This slide really gets to the heart of the conflict. On one side, you have that classic, episodic training. It's great for getting information out to a big group all at once. But on the other side, you have coaching, which is built from the ground up for one-on-one, long-term behavior change. Think of it this way. Training is a fire hose for spraying information, while coaching is a surgeon's scalpel for changing a habit. You wouldn't use one for the other's job, right?
And this is the paradox in a nutshell. The world of work, thanks to AI, is getting way more complex. It demands new behaviors, new ways of thinking. But what do? We double down on the one tool, episodic training, that is least likely to create any kind of lasting change. It's just a massive, expensive mismatch. So, and this is so important, the problem usually isn't that the training content is bad. The real failure is something called scrap learning. It's that brilliant idea that makes perfect sense in the classroom, but gets completely forgotten the second a manager is back in the real world under pressure. That unreinforced training, it's not just a little ineffective, it's a predictable, total waste of money.
Okay, so if the old model's broken, what's the fix? Well, it all starts with a huge shift in mindset. We have to stop thinking about development as a nice-to-have perk and start seeing it for what it really is, a strategic weapon in the age of AI.
This one quote changes everything. Your development program isn't just about making people happy. It is a control system. It's one of the only levers you have to actually shift behavior across your entire organization, to speed up execution, and to make sure your people can actually use all those fancy new AI tools you're buying. So, how do you get that balance right? There's a really powerful framework for this. It's called the Dynamic Development Equilibrium, or DDE for short. Think of it as a strategic map that helps you decide when to use broad training and when you absolutely need targeted one-on-one coaching. It forces you to treat your development budget like the critical asset it truly is. And this model gives us a fantastic, easy-to-understand approach. Level 1 is foundational. You use training to get everyone on the same page, speaking the same language. Level 2 is for strategic scaling. Here you blend training and coaching for those critical roles that are adopting new ways of working. And level 3, that's for pure behavioral transformation. This is where you bring in intensive coaching for your senior leaders who are dealing with really high-stakes, ambiguous challenges. Now, this obviously brings up the million-dollar question, doesn't it? What's the actual, tangible difference in performance when you go beyond that scrap learning and add real, structured coaching into the mix? Well, the impact is just staggering. A landmark study on this found that training alone boosted productivity by about 22%. Not bad, right? But when you added coaching to reinforce those same skills, productivity shot up to 88%. 88. The takeaway here is crystal clear. Coaching is a massive performance amplifier. Okay, now let's bring this home and talk about why this is so critical for large-scale firms in India right now. Because honestly, the stakes could not be higher. First, let's just appreciate the sheer scale we're talking about. India's tech sector is a monster. It's not just some niche industry. It's a huge engine driving something like 7% of the entire country's GDP. Now, let's zoom in on the big IT services firms. For them, the biggest single cost on their profit and loss statement is people. We're talking more than half of their total revenue. And hey, this isn't just a tech story. Just look at manufacturing. They're on track to spend an insane 11 lakh crore in IT this year alone. So what does all this mean? It means getting more from your people isn't some soft, fuzzy HR metric. It's a direct, hard-nosed lever on your bottom line and on the country's economic growth. So here's the bottom line. Your multi-core investment in new technology will absolutely stall if your managers on the ground don't change their habits. The bottleneck isn't the tech anymore, it's the people. And coaching is how you target that bottleneck head on. Okay, we've laid out the problem, we know the stakes are high. So practically speaking, what can you actually do to start making this pivot? First things first, throw out your happy sheets. Seriously, just stop asking people if they liked the training. You need to start measuring what actually matters. Are people actually doing the new thing? Is your talent pipeline moving faster? And the big one, is it actually impacting business outcomes like cycle time or productivity? Now, here's the secret to making this work at scale. Your most powerful coaching resource isn't some expensive team of outside consultants. It's your own managers. You have to build an operating system, like what Microsoft did with its Model Coach Care framework, where coaching becomes a core, non-negotiable part of every manager's job. And look, here's a concrete plan for your first 6 months. In the first 30 days, just map your existing programs to that DDE framework. Then, in the next couple of months, launch your manager as coach standards. And by day 180, you should be running quarterly reviews of your whole development portfolio with your business and finance leaders. This turns it from an idea into a real, measurable project.
All right, let's pull all of this together into one final, powerful idea. What does making this coaching pivot really mean for your company?
The goal here is not to get rid of training entirely. Not at all. The goal is to consciously rebalance your portfolio. Keep using foundational training to build a shared language. Use those blended programs when you're adopting new workflows. And save that intensive, high-impact coaching for real behavioral transformation, where it matters most. It's simply about using the right tool for the job. You know, at the end of the day, in this new era of high people costs and insanely fast tech changes, the most valuable investment you can possibly make, the reinvested profit that's going to give you the highest return, is the capital you put into making leadership behavior change repeatable and reliable. So we'll leave you with this one question to think about. Your company's AI strategy is only as good as the leaders who have to bring it to life on their teams every single day. So are you just teaching them about the future, or are you actually equipping them to build it? Because in the end, your AI strategy isn't going to be executed by an algorithm. It's going to be executed by your leaders.